We can crack the wallet.
Oh, we've done it before.
We've got rigs, character adversary, attribution mode.
With our private keys combined.
Building some kind of blockchain super weapon.
There's just a number of vulnerabilities that are in the smart contracts.
Math. It's probably secure.
They all secretly mine cryptocurrency.
What coin can I trust? Which one is cryptographically secure?
Don't roll your own crypto. CoinSec podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the CoinSec podcast. This is episode number 67, and we've got so much good stuff in this show. We've got guests, we've got all kinds of news to talk about. It's going to be a good episode. So, you guys are at DEF CON, Ralph and guests. Who are our guests, Ralph? Who's with you?
So we got Phil, right?
Yep.
And Max, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are hanging out here in DEF CON and the hotel room because that's about the only quiet spot we got here. And we're going to talk some crypto stuff. You guys want to do a quick introduction? Like, what you do, like where you work, stuff like that, what's your favorite color, stuff, the real important things, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So we work at AnChain.AI. It's a Web3 security company. They have a couple solutions, including blockchain investigations, smart contract security and audits, that sort of thing. And we're here today kind of to talk about a CTF that we've been developing.
Awesome.
Competition for hacking smart contracts.
Yes.
And so Max works with our smart contract auditing, also set up running the CTF. I wear a couple of hats at AnChain, do smart contract auditing. I'm involved in investigations. We'll be probably talking about Tornado Cash in a little bit. I work a lot with and then also a little bit on the dev side, design patterns, working on some projects, NFT projects, stuff like that. So I got my fingers in a few pies. But yeah.
So wait, there's actually smart people on the show for once, man. This is.
I know, Corey. You've been replaced, buddy.
We're being outclassed by people who actually know what they're doing. This is scary.
And we also have one more guest.
Yeah.
Also joining us, Rod Soto. Welcome, Rod.
Woo.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be here. For those who don't know me, I co-founded Hack Miami and Pacific Hackers, and I'm part of this effort to bring this competitions, train people, and give them free cash.
It's actually, so what's funny is it's crazy how it's kind of come full circle. Like, so when I met Rod, it was like, I swear it was either 2012 or 2013. And he was running a CTF at the time. I think it was in Tampa, maybe where you would run that one.
Yeah, I think he was one of those veterans of foreign wars places, which was pretty awesome, by the way. Yeah.
But what's crazy is, like, so you're running a CTF, and I met you at a CTF, and now we're about to talk about, like, a blockchain CTF, like, 10 years later, which is just insane. It's really cool to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So guys, one of the big things we love to talk about with any guest is just like, what was your first introduction to crypto? Like, what got you into this industry?
Yeah, that's an interesting story for me. I think you're kind of similar. I was introduced to this job through Rod, and I knew a lot about cryptography, not much about cryptocurrency, just the basic workings of the blockchain. I didn't know that you can program on the blockchain, smart contracts were a thing. When I heard about it, I was like, that sounds awesome. I want to learn more. So started an internship at AnChain and started learning about how to program Solidity and the types of common vulnerabilities they deal with. And then that kind of led into this CTF project we've been doing. Kind of had the idea for it from playing Capture the Ether and Ethernaut. It's like, you have some really good ideas. I really like to do my own thing.
Thanks. Sweet.
And for me, professionally, I've only been in the industry for about a year, but I've been following the industry since 2011. Remember reading like a Wired article in 2011 on Bitcoin, thinking that was really cool. And I think I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013, and I got really into it when I heard Ethereum was launching, learned about smart contracts, DAOs, and stuff, and like lost my mind. I was like, oh my god, this is the future. And so I've kind of just been dancing around the outside of the industry, trying to find my way in for a couple of years, and finally broke in. So that's my story.
Great.
How about you, Rod?
Oh, well, I got my first Bitcoin around 2011. I remember back in those days, it was this libertarian idea that we were gonna somehow get away from the financial system. And it was like a hacker currency, right? So I remember Alex Hyde. You guys probably know him, the president of Miami. I think Alex paid between $18 to $20 for a Whopper in one of those Burger Kings in Hollywood Boulevard in Florida. So we were basically giving it away to each other to make it popular. And then I remember in 2013, we sold one ticket for one Bitcoin. It was $100. And I gave half a Bitcoin one time for the CTF that I did here in Vegas at DEF CON. So I've been back and forth with this, and I met Victor on my last startup. Victor Fang is the CEO of AnChain. And then, we talk about it, and we sort of hit it off. And let me tell you, nobody believed in this. They told me, Rod, stay away from that blockchain stuff. That's crazy, and it's going to make you look bad. And it was incredibly challenging to get any funding whatsoever. Silicon Valley, I think, until Coinbase, did not believe in any of this. So it's a little bit of how I've been in the industry, one way or the other.
Yeah, that's actually it's really interesting because that's one of the things we talk about a lot of times on the show is just the general information security mindset and how there tends to be kind of like a block against anything blockchain related. It's like this crazy buzzword that you never want to touch, and or else bad things are going to happen to you. And that's one of the things that we try to bridge the gap a little bit between traditional InfoSec and blockchain. So all of the hosts, so myself, Corey, Ralph, Steve, like we do traditional red teaming and InfoSec like as our day job, right? But we also have this crazy interest in blockchain security, and we've been trying to push towards making sure other people learn about the risks that are involved. So
yeah, and it's kind of a two-way street, Bo. So that would be not only are we trying to educate the people who want to get into the space, but also those who are developing and securing the space, right? We want to ensure that they're doing that because we find too many projects out there that they're so motivated by getting the product out the door, getting the smart contract deployed, that they don't audit it until afterwards, right? And then the whole mentality is kind of backwards with blockchain companies and security. So we're trying to fix that as well.
We'll
it's
fix
kind
it
of
on
weird.
the chain. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll fix it. We'll fix it in flight, right? It's kind of weird though because like traditional security, I mean, that's like the whole reason DEF CON exists in the first place, right? Because we were having the same problems with traditional, infrastructure and just traditional deployment of the technology, and then everyone started hacking everything, and now it became a big deal. But I mean, blockchain is not going to just disappear. It's another avenue.
So this actually is the unofficial cryptocurrency village that we have here because there isn't a real one. So we have like 6 people or 7. So we're here. This is it.
What's the minimum to be a village?
I don't know. I feel like 3.
3. Yeah, that's a village.
Or there.
Guys from AnChain, what do you see as like the most, like your biggest hurdle these days? Is it just people understanding the technology? Is it people coming to you with problems, or like what's the biggest thing going on right now in the industry with security right now?
I think you hit it, and it's the same issue with normal security, education, just understanding the risk. I remember, for years trying to convince C-suite that they need to pay the money for security.
Oh yeah,
that's the biggest uphill battle. Is just convincing them that they need to do this. And it's the same thing with blockchain. Just educating people on the unique challenges, the different, keeping your keys safe, keeping, key management good, even smart contracts with some of the design. It's the biggest education is the biggest issue. Getting that information up.
Yeah, you'd have more experience in this than I do, but yeah, definitely what I noticed from the other end for a lot of developers like me before I came to this company, they don't really know what Solidity is and that you can make smart contracts and that sort of thing. But when they do learn it, they're like, this is pretty easy compared to what I've done in the past. Like, I can do this.
Yeah, the language itself is pretty easy. It's all of the understanding you have to have around the language, how it works, how the blockchain works, how that's the kind of knowledge that's hard. Learning Solidity most Solidity code is very simple. Like if you've done programming, you can pretty easily follow along with it. It's not doing anything super complex. It's understanding all the constraints that happen from outside, all the blockchain constraints that you have to keep in mind. What's the effect of this going to be? What's going to happen here? That doesn't really show up in the code.
So that actually brings up a good question. So what are some of your favorite resources for learning Solidity?
Right. I'm a huge fan of OpenZeppelin. I think that they have some really excellent resources. If you're a developer, you're almost certainly going to use some of their libraries. ERC 721, ERC 20, Ownable, all of that stuff, solid libraries. But they've got really great documentation to walk you through a lot of that stuff. So that's kind of my go-to for a lot of resources. On the base Solidity, just learning, that's a tough one. There are resources out there.
I use the Solidity documentation personally. Solidity by example is another good one. But yeah, mostly just figuring out on my own. I learned a lot of it through Capture the Ether, actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just speaking of Capture the Ether, do you guys want to roll into telling us about your CTF before we go to the news?
Sure.
Yeah, sounds good. So it's right now it's an event. It's virtual, September 11th.
What's the name of it?
iHack NFT.
Right.
We're kind of advertising it as a learning opportunity because it starts off with a workshop where we go over the basics, how the blockchain works, what a smart contract is, how to write Solidity. And if you don't already know how to do that, you can sleep in, show up late, whatever. Because after the event, the CTF starts. And the CTF is a tiered challenge. It's built on the Ethernaut platform, built by OpenZeppelin. And we made our own challenges for it. It starts just having them exploit very simple smart contracts in Solidity. And then we move on to ERC standards. ERC 20, the regular token contracts, and the ERC 721. Later on, they hack NFTs.
Cool.
It's called iHack NFT. And the idea behind this is as we go on, we introduce technologies that are commonly in use right now and common hacks, common problems that they have inherently in their programming.
Yeah. And, we really designed it to be a smooth on-ramp. Coming with, I remember trying to learn Solidity. I didn't know where to get started.
Right.
I didn't know how to enter it. And that's what our approach here was supposed to be. Is this supposed to be if you're interested in learning Solidity and all you know is a little bit of JavaScript, you can get your hands dirty. Start playing around with smart contracts. And if you make it through the end, you'll have done a reentrancy attack. You'll know how to actually attack contracts. So it was meant to be this really smooth transition on from you can come with no knowledge of Solidity and leave being confident you could write a smart contract.
That's a hint for anyone who's going to play the CTF.
and you could potentially win some money too, right? So
Yeah.
you could get some, you can get paid to learn. That's a weird concept.
It's difficult.
Yeah,
that's great.
We have some thanks to our sponsors and obviously AnChain, we do have a pricing or prices for the first. If you place in the first three, you get up to $500 or even more. We're still managing a little bit how much is it going to be, but at least it will be that. Plus, you probably will get interviewed and maybe even get a job in the industry. So the idea here is basically what you guys said at the beginning of this program, which is create the consciousness of security. Believe that we can secure this, that we can make it trustworthy, that we can make it, I'm going to say this, have confidence in those who are investing, in some cases their lives, in cryptocurrency, and take away all this stench of fraud and crime that is in this industry. So there's few of us, and this is an effort to change this. So the more of us, the better.
It doesn't have
Awesome.
stigma around it.
Yeah.
It sounds very BHIS. That's exactly what we try to do. We try to lower the barrier to entry. Free training, that kind of stuff. It doesn't cost anything to participate in the CTF. You could potentially even make money participating in the CTF. And I mean, it's really cool. Anytime someone puts together, like you said, an on-ramp, that's awesome, because a lot of people are like, how do I get started? If I just Google how to be an ETH developer, it's going to be, it's not.
How to be a millionaire. That'll be your next.
Right. So, but this is someone who's in the industry, has designed this on-ramp, as you said, to get you up to speed with some of the basics you might need to know, and also give you some rewards of it's not that hard to hack this stuff, which is why security matters, right? So, that being said, I'm sure I would get destroyed if I tried to, do some of the more advanced challenges, but that's how CTFs go.
It's a learning process, right?
Yeah.
It was a balancing act too, making it accessible and challenging.
Yep.
Right. It's always the difficulty with CTFs.
Right.
And will this be the first one, or have you had a previous iteration yet?
We had when was the event?
We had a test run in person only. It was July. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we had one in Silicon Valley. We had it at the Hacker Dojo. And we had great success with it. But now we're going to do one, which is the first one, is the virtual that you're looking at. But then we're going to be at Decentral, Miami, during the week of November. It will be probably around November 29, and we're going to do it in person. And we're going to have a great venue. I don't want to reveal the venue yet, but we may have like very big people associated with crypto in Miami, which has turned now into the crypto capital. So that's our next big event after the virtual one. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so the iHack NFT, the virtual one, that's September 10th. And are there any time limits? Like, is it just like a 24-hour thing?
I think we have it open for we do like morning to evening. The hours aren't specified right now, but 6 hours is usually what we shoot for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, so any listeners should go sign up for this. It's we've got the link in Discord. I'll post it in the show notes too. But yeah, that sounds awesome. I want to check it out. So
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'll probably make it down for Miami too. That sounds good.
Love that.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
So speaking of all the fraud and crime that's in the cryptocurrency industry.
Oh, Jesus, you had to bring it up, Corey. Everything's
not to skip, but this show typically surrounds us talking about all the terrible things happening in the cryptocurrency.
Well, no, we're talking about the vulnerabilities that were exploited and the terrible things that happened afterwards.
And how you could learn from them, hopefully.
Yes, these are lessons learned.
Yes. So,
yeah,
I mean, the buzzword today is Tornado Cash, right? Which has relevancy to our guests too. But
yeah,
Bo, you want to take us in, or?
Yeah, so guys, so to our guests, we actually joke about like having bingo cards for each show, because every single show it's either like Tornado Cash, rug pull, flash loan, Oracle manipulation, like every episode. So we've got Tornado on the bingo card, and it's actually a really big story this week. So the Tornado Cash story we're going to talk about is pretty deep. It's a deep story. So we've talked about it every week pretty much, because everyone who hacks any smart contract tend to just send all their funds through the mixing service, Tornado Cash, to try to claim them so that they can be traced.
It's money laundering as a service.
It's money laundering as a service.
Well, it can be used that way.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
True. There are a lot of people who use it for privacy as well. I'll just say that. But anyways, so the United States Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, has sanctioned any addresses that are associated with Tornado Cash. And it has been quite the event watching this unfold. So on Monday, Tornado Cash was added to the specially designated national list, a running tally of blacklisted people, entities, and cryptocurrency addresses. As a result, all US persons and entities are prohibited from interacting with Tornado Cash or any of the Ethereum wallet addresses tied to the protocol. So let's start there, guys. Thoughts around sanctioning a smart contract?
Wow.
I think my first reaction is it's funny to imagine them sitting down at the government being like, how do we do this? How do you sanction cryptocurrency? Like someone had to explain like a wallet is a unique identifier, but it's basically worthless. They're like, what? Wallets are worthless? I don't understand. George Costanza's wallet was so useful.
But this is standard. This is like standard operating for the U.S. government, right? Like when they want to stop something, right? Usually one of the levers that they can pull, besides arresting somebody, is to sanction them a lot, right? Like, and that's, with any other country or other stuff like that. But by sanctioning it, it immediately has this windfall. Like you may still be able to interact with it, but all these other companies that were maybe associated with anything, they're like, I'm out. Like, I don't want to play with this game. I have a company and I just want to continue to make money. I don't want to be on the shit list, literally. So that's the lever they pulled. Now, how it actually all plays out, because it's crypto, is totally different. The government was just like, we got to do something. This is one of the levers we know how to pull.
So why this lever? Why OFAC? Is that because the developer was overseas, or because the smart contract isn't hosted? Overseas?
You're right.
It's everywhere. So how do you say this is OFAC versus like the FBI or the SEC or the IRS or somebody like that?
Because if they banned it just in the US, right, then so what they're doing is they're trying to hit anyone who associates it with it that lives in the US, right? And because that affects a lot of people, they just, and it's not really think of it like a smart contract would be like its own country, right? And I think that's a good way to think about it, right? Obviously there's no land or anything like that unless it's the NFT, but that's how they thought about it. All right. They're finding out how it's going to work out, and it looks like it's working pretty effective. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like the reason they're doing this is so that they can criminally prosecute or go after people that do interact with these, right? So I guess like kind of the weird thing is technically, supposedly, before this happened, you could just be like Lazarus Group, which is like an APT that hacks people. You could be like, you know what? I really like what they're doing. I'm just going to send them some money. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and here's $1,000 for the Lazarus Group to scam people. It's like, that probably shouldn't be allowed when you think about it. Like, I obviously, like, if you're like, hey, my bank, can I wire money to North Korea? Like, they're going to be like, no, you can't. You can't. No. Like, you can't do it because of sanctions. You can't do it because of X, Y, and Z reason. But the biggest reason is because you can be criminally prosecuted for funding, like, terrorist groups. I mean, obviously, the government can do that if they want, whatever. But that is a big, I feel like it's a legal lever. They're like, we need to be able to send these people to some criminal or, penalize them or whatever. I feel like that's what it is more than anything, but I could be wrong. But
hey, Rod, what about Tornado Cash? What's your view on Tornado Cash?
Yeah, I was going to say that Tornado Cash is basically an evolution of mixers, right? Before you had the Wasabi one that was very, very popular. And now you have Tornado Cash, which is among the industry considered zero-proof knowledge type of mixer. So basically, you cannot identify it side to side. And then what you guys just said is important, because what they're doing is they're going to hit anybody that gets anything from them. So like the Coinbases, the FTXs, they're going to have a blacklist. And if they see anything coming from mixers, this was happening before, by the way. We have been identifying like this mixer addresses because they need to be, if you're doing KYC, right, or AML, or attempting to do it, you had to identify where these things are coming from, and you had to blacklist it. So the OFAC, I guess, is to try to prevent people and saying, hey, you get money from them, we're going to go after you. Even if you're outside, remember, OFAC also includes foreign countries. So whatever country you are in the OFAC list, no U.S. entity, and the allies are going to give them crap too, can do business with them.
So, Bo, one thing you had mentioned as well is that on the chain, it's a little bit complicated to say who has interacted with this. So there was immediately some side repercussions of this, which you can cover. So it's hard. The government had to be like, how do we figure out who's using Tornado Cash? I don't know if they consulted with any companies in the space, but the way that they're doing it can lead to some side effects.
Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of questions this brings up, right? So, one of the big things that I wonder is how deep in transaction history they actually are looking, right? Because, like, for example, like, let's say that I tornado cashed an amount and then I split it up to 10 wallets and split that up to 10 wallets and split that up, like 100 times, right? Like, through an automated fashion. Are they actually doing, like, the forensic analysis to trace that back, 100 transactions to Tornado and saying, hey, this actually, originated from a Tornado wallet?
Well, the mixers, the classic mixers try to do that, and I can tell you, I try not to blog AnChain, but there is an algorithm that can trace back up to the beginning of it. And same thing with Tornado Cash, which was the Tornado Cash craziness actually peaked somewhere between February and April of this year, and AnChain was already writing an algorithm to try to trace it because it is incredibly difficult.
The other thing,
unless you make it all go to a single address on Binance, and then you can figure that out pretty easily.
The other thing we need to talk about too, just about Tornado Cash and this sanction, right, is that what makes Tornado Cash work is a lot of money in a big pool, right? Without like a pool, you're kind of like, well, I set money in, I wonder who gets it back.
Yeah, we've already talked about sometimes the pool's too small for some of these bigger hacks.
And so this sanction may just be enough to break up the pool, right, of the money that you don't,
you just can't use it.
Yeah, the people who aren't even trying to do illicit activity are like, well, obviously I'll go somewhere else for my more privacy,
Well, yeah. So how long until we get Tornado Cash 2.0 though? Right?
Yeah.
That was my question. Like, what's the next thing people are going to move to?
But this is why it doesn't matter, because he's right. Liquidity is what matters. If the pool is too small, it doesn't matter. So they don't have to take down every clone of Tornado Cash. They just need to take down the ones that get big enough.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, because then that $20 million hack is just really hard to move if it's not there. Right?
And in our investigations, that's one of the best techniques that we can use for tracing down people with Tornado Cash is big fish in a small pond. You're trying to launder $100 million into it. You stand out. It's hard to kind of mix in with the rest of those. So when used properly, Tornado Cash is a perfect money laundering system. Problem is you can mess up. There are certain things you can do that expose a little bit of identity. So this is how we've been somewhat successful in tracking some people down. But the caveat we always have to say is if they did this right, there's no catching them. Which is why I saw this sanction coming from a mile away. The government was not going to let this perfect money laundering machine stay.
Sure. Are bridges next then? Because there are some bridges out there you can bridge to privacy coins, and then
so that's what I was gonna say. Like, how long until we hear like instead of Tornado Cash 2.0, it's like Hurricane Fiat, and it's like a yield staking pool or yield farming.
Right. I think it's actually this kind of brings up one other thing too that we've talked about. It's like, oh, you can't stop crypto because what do you do? Turn off the internet? But you don't have to turn off the internet to stop it, right? You can just. They're showing that if you sanction everyone for kind of being involved, enough people scatter, right? Whether they're doing something legal or illegal to make it so that it's just not popular, right? It's wild.
I've been talking to people. Yeah, I've been talking to people about this for a while. That what the government's going to do is they can't stop crypto because they can't shut off the government, the internet. But they can create a walled garden inside of it. And say we are going to monitor the bridges over. So they'll have a walled garden of regulated space, and they'll just watch the bridges. And anyone who comes into the regulated space, they'll slap you away. And so there will be always the Wild West of crypto outside the gate walls.
Sure,
they're just going to make.
Those gate walls are soon going to be state coins. So like the USA has a coin, and that's now controlled by the IRS or the SEC or whoever department they come up with. And now they have control of all your funds. And that's what they want. There was a bill passed not too long ago where any account over $600 they have purview into, right? So they're coming for your crypto, and it's going to be the fact that they make their own crypto and force you to use it. And those Wild West coins, Bitcoin and everything else, is probably going to be on that sanction list.
Well, so how people traditionally interact, or sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, adding to Steve points, if you look at renminbi in China and the ECP, crypto is a mean of control. They even had tokens that are physical. They have an identifier that even if you do a physical transaction, at one point they had to enter it, and they will find out where it came from. And that is what's coming. That's what's coming.
Right. Yeah, yeah, as I'm sure the developers could attest, crypto is good and bad for criminals. It might be good because of things like Tornado Cash, where you have perfect privacy if it's used properly. But we've also seen, the ledger's public. You can identify whales publicly. You can identify big money moving around. There's a lot of downsides to it. Also, the blockchain is forever. The blockchain is immutable. You can't go and burn the documents. You can't shred them. You can't it is there and it's never going to go away. So if you screwed up 200 transactions or 1,000 transactions or however many transactions ago, that data is always going to be there and it's always going to be a mark against you. So the tracking side of it is significant for sure.
Is there a grandfather clause in this thing? Because what if you used Tornado Cash when it first opened, right? And it was years ago.
I was good then.
So that takes us into the concept of controlling these bridges, which are controlling the ways outside of this is the dark place. We don't go over there. If you go over there, bad things happen to you. That's what the government is watching. And those bridges are to traditional finance, like your bank account or whatever. But Bo, run us through, how can people, send transactions through Tornado Cash? It's kind of like sending someone a package in the mail and you're like, I didn't order this, but it's a bunch of drugs. What do you know? How do you, so people were dusting. Describe what dusting is.
Yeah. So this was one of the things that was kind of interesting that came out of this sanction is people started just sending Tornado Cashed funds to popular wallets. So like popular celebrities so far, like Jimmy Fallon, the Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong.
I can't believe all these people are funding threat actors in North Korea.
Yeah, right. So the dusting is like they'll send them like 0.1 ETH from the Tornado Cash smart contract, right? And so like the question is now, okay, so they have technically their wallet has interacted with
they've laundered money. They've laundered money.
Well, you don't know, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, how do you tell, right?
Yeah, it's a great example of, and for those that don't know, basically it's the same thing as mailing someone a package. I can mail Steve a big box of drugs and then call the cops and be like, hey, someone just mailed him a bunch of drugs and I think he's a drug runner. It's the same thing. Like I can send cryptocurrency via Tornado Cash and make it look like you laundered money. How is the government going to go about identifying what's legitimate money laundering? I guess probably, based on thresholds, they probably will have to set, like Steve said, grandfather clause for people that did it before it was sanctioned, as well as thresholds but yeah, it'll be interesting. Like, I wonder if come 2022 tax time,
Corey, I don't think they care. That wasn't the goal. The goal of the sanctions was just to pretty much stop the pool, right?
And to give them a tool. They're not going to actively go after all these people who are who's getting money from Tornado Cash. They're going to use this as a tool for people they're already looking at. Whereas before they're like, oh, it's in Tornado Cash. I guess we don't know what to do. Now they have a tool to say, that's enough for us to go after you.
Right, but the problem is that centralized exchanges are blocking any of those addresses, right? Yep. So, like now Logan Paul goes to Coinbase and tries to, cash out, and you're blacklisted because you used Tornado. How do they stop that? Right?
So you're right. It's not about the government enforcement. It's about the private companies trying to do their due diligence with what the government has told them to do.
Sure, the government doesn't care. The private company though is yes, and that becomes a whole different thing when now they got to call up Coinbase look, guys, somebody's maliciously doing this, and then it's like a whole thing, right? But then you're like, don't save your crypto in Coinbase, or don't you? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So
how do you get it off? How do you get it off? I mean, you go meet some dude around the corner,
kind of like this hotel. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. This is actually where I sell all my Tornado Cash.
So I guess the last thing I wanted to ask the developers is, as a developer, can you be sanctioned for doing, investigating Tornado Cash, publishing code for Tornado? The developers got arrested, so that's kind of part of the news story.
Can we talk about that? We didn't even say anything about this, right?
So are you scared? Are you deleting your GitHub repos? I don't know.
That's the thing. In the offensive security, we've been down that path for years.
Right.
So to
Yeah,
see it
we
bleed
have
over
had
into blockchain
debates
is
about this
interesting.
for
Yeah.
years, right? See, like we've talked
Yeah.
about this for years. It's been a huge debate about offensive tooling being
Weapons.
published on
Yeah.
GitHub,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And we just saw this, like, so the day that they got sanctioned, GitHub removed their repos, so the Tornado Cash repos are gone. I immediately messaged Steve like, dude, I know you forked the entire internet. Did you fork this?
He said no. God dang
I
it.
had
Steve.
So Steve's lucky. He's not gonna have SWAT breaking anything.
he's not on the
soon.
sanction
No.
list.
Yeah.
Luckily. Avoided that one.
But I don't know. So this brings up a good question, right? So I mean, is the code like inherently bad, like that it should just be removed, that it should just disappear?
I thought code was law.
The chain.
Yeah, on the
Yeah,
chain
yeah.
at least. Okay, let's just bring up the one thing, right? The big one. Should he be arrested? Like I don't think so, honestly.
Well,
I think you got to
you-
wonder what evidence they have, right? Because
Yeah,
it's one thing if you're giving a talk in North Korea about how to launder money. It's another thing if you're just writing code to GitHub, right?
You created the code that was used to launder like $10 billion, basically, right?
Yeah, but
that's
like,
probably what they.
But let's bring that over to traditional security, though. In traditional security, if you write some malware that you publicly put on GitHub and it's used to attack some, government entity, are you culpable?
I think of what a lot of tools I see
Or
do
encryption?
is they say this is for research purposes only. We're not responsible.
Yeah,
for
well,
anyone
I'm sure it
uses
says that on the site, though,
Tornado
right? Yeah,
Cash.
Tornado
Yeah.
Cash.
So
I put a warning.
Yeah. So, well, no. So that's actually like, I mean, that's fair. So, as an open source tool developer myself, like I've actually had conversations with the FBI where they wanted to know, like, okay, well, how does this actually work? Because we're seeing it used in actual attacks.
Uh-huh.
And like that's one thing, right? To like work with the person, because like, I mean, if you imagine like the developer could have probably like informed them better about how it actually works. I mean,
You think
other
they
than
called?
just arresting them.
Do you think they called him up? They were like, "Hey, could you help us find some people?" And he was like, "No."
They're like, all right, so yes, you will.
Why didn't they do what they do with the drug war and get the developer of Tornado Cash to
They had to flip him.
Yeah.
flip them? Yeah. Gather more information on the people using it.
Well, like I think the other thing about this, and this is kind of like the blockchain idea, is that once the cat's out of the bag, right? Like he can't go turn it off, right? I mean, I guess he could slip some code in there to help track it more, but then everyone's going to see it and be like, "Hey, did you guys know that this is that one app that's like tracking drug dealers too?"
So here's the thing, right? So we talked about like the TVL, right? Like so the total value locked. So the actual like the pool itself, liquidity pool. So like yes, right now it's just a lot of public people that are probably using it for quote unquote privacy, right, or whatever, that fills up that like $30 million TVL. Now all it's going to take is for a country like North Korea to just be like, you know what, all right, we're just gonna make our own, and they deploy it, and then they put $100 million in it. And now it's this, like they're not going to sanction it, but I mean, people will still be able to use it. It's like it's not going to go away.
Go ahead.
Every week, we're just going to have a new list of the new Tornado Cash alternative sanctions.
Yep. Can be a game of cat and mouse.
A game of cat and mouse. It always is. Yeah, whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
And think about this on the darknet stuff. Well, darknet like Tor and all the other sites. I mean, so what was the other big one? The Silk Road, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's still another Silk Road replacement. They're always right.
Mhm.
But they have better OPSEC.
Which is they knock them down when they get too big.
Yes.
So there's always clones, but anyone gets a
yeah.
little bit of the market share, bam, they slap it down, and it's the same thing. Liquidity.
Yeah.
If it gets popular enough, they just slap it down. That's gonna
They
be the
don't
strategy.
want Walmart of illicit activity, and as soon as you get to pretty big, I think that's what we're seeing, right?
It's more they can't tax it than
Well,
if they could just tax the mixing service, I think
they'd be all right.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, like this is my personal opinion, but I do think in a lot of these cases, it has to be something additional to just writing code and publishing it. I feel like it has to be.
Yeah,
it has to be either directly, because I mean, think about like there's a lot of hot takes in this Twitter, of course, but it's like. Did they ever arrest the people that coded that wrote Swift? Because there's malicious iOS apps out there. Like, what about the people that coded Visa and MasterCard? Because my card got skimmed. Like, it's so. How do you like? It's not like the people that wrote freaking COBOL or whatever banks use are like in trouble when someone money launders with like traditional money. It's just like I feel like it had to be more. I hope that it's more because it's a dangerous precedent if we're talking about. if you write something that ends up getting used, like, okay, Moxie Marlinspike, don't move. Don't live any like because you wrote Signal, you wrote like anyone that writes a privacy tool is now just under the wire. But I assume it had to be more. It had to be like they either directly aided people, like it's kind of like the Dread Pirate Roberts thing we were talking about with the Silk Road. Like he wasn't just like having a marketplace. He was also like putting out hits on people, he like kind of, it was like a Breaking Bad thing where he kind of like expanded beyond his sort of like wheelhouse as a developer and a site admin into like this, libertarian god admin person. So it's like, how do you, which makes you a target. So I feel like hopefully this isn't just, oh, you publish code to GitHub, you're in jail. Like that would be a really dangerous thing.
No, I think you're right, Corey. I think it's going to come down to intent, right? And like, I don't think that you're going to be able to like hold it up in law and like in a court and just be like, hey, you wrote this. I think that it'll work that out. But if they have an actual intent, right, which, we're probably not going to see that, affidavit and like what the exact like arrest warrant was for.
It's Dutch, so who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Wow. They really went in on this one, huh? Didn't they? All involved. Yeah. Well, whatever. Here we are.
I mean, I feel like if you end up in a Dutch prison, you're probably doing okay. It's probably nicer than like most of our.
It might be nicer in this hotel room. I'm not sure.
They're like, oh yes, no coffee today. Man, this prison sucks.
This prison sucks. All right. What else we got? We could talk about this all day, I feel like.
A phishing attack on DeBridge Finance. Classic traditional security. I can't believe this stuff still works.
Yeah, I mean, this one was like basically an LNK file, which prompts command prompt on execution. And
what is this, my red team? This
is
literally my...
Did they read my report?
Did they read the report? Yeah, so this is attributed to Lazarus, kind of a hot, to tie it all together, which is one of the groups that they're trying to go after with this Tornado Cash stuff.
APT action.
False flag? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, so I thought it was funny because it's like the old new salary adjustment spreadsheet.
Salary adjustment.
Everyone cares about that salary.
It's
so
like
much,
that quarterly bonus coming to
yeah.
This seriously reads like a pen test report. Most employees reported the suspicious email. One downloaded and opened the associated file. I'm just going to go copy that into my report for this current red team I'm doing.
That literally is what happened.
Like that's so. Yeah, I don't.
Well, so the thing I thought was interesting about this one is they sent two files. So they sent not only a PDF but also the passwords.txt.lnk file. And so like somebody would try to open up the PDF and they couldn't open it. And then they would see, oh, hey, there's a passwords.txt file here. That must be what I need. And so they would open that, and that was the actual malware.
So I guess to my opinion on this is we talk about blockchain security, we talk about smart contract auditing, all that stuff. It's great, but you also still need like email filtering, security operations center. Like you still need like basic security stuff because like this is a company. These attackers do target the companies that run blockchain. That run these, services. So
I audited my blockchain code. It is perfect. It is no flaws. And then they fish me.
Well, you also need to bring up the point that unfortunately for on-chain to work needs a lot of off-chain technology, and this off-chain technologies are vulnerable. Like what happened with OpenSea? It was a MySQL, a SQLite, I believe. They were able to, So it's perfect when you get to the blockchain, but then you're surrounded by all off-chain technologies that are vulnerable and they get exploited.
Yeah,
you're telling me you can't use a Web3 email server?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I don't know about you guys. I only send my emails through input data attached to transactions.
Yes. Yeah. You know how much more secure it is? I mean, everyone can read it, but, nobody can stop.
Everyone, it's encrypted, bro.
Yeah,
can't get it.
Well, PGP encrypted.
PGP, but you got to, whatever. It's,
Yeah. So traditional security matters. Off-chain matters for sure.
Yeah. I think
these Web3 products and platforms and things like that, a lot of them use things like Node.js. We've talked about this before, but supply chain attacks through, let's say, a Node.js package was registered to my email address, but then my email address expires because I had a custom domain registered. somebody else registers that domain, gets my email address, and then can modify the Node.js package, and boom, next time your app updates, you've got it.
If you want to see how bad Node.js is, just run like one Node.js app, do npm install, and just watch your computer blow up with packages. It's thousands and thousands of packages. You're like, holy crap, I know I've been hacked. But
and some of the packages are the stupidest thing. It's like, oh, this package prints a new line after every print
Yes,
statement.
dude,
Like,
it's the
what?
left pad.
Yes,
the whole left pad story. The guy unminted it on NPM and broke half the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that was a good example. Yeah.
There's like inceptions. All right, anyways, it sounds really bad, but like when you watch them all load, you're like, holy crap, like any one of these could have been written by a 5-year-old. And,
yeah.
Right.
So yeah, basically, I think there was some statistic floating around at the beginning. I don't know if it's still valid, but it was like 40% of NPM packages, the emails are expired or no longer valid. So it's like, oh yeah. God.
That's why I always use force. Always use force. Got to get every package.
Always use force. So apparently there was a near breach. Which this is kind of the same as the one that we had talked about last week, the slope finance thing where they were leaking recovery phrases to a third party.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so last week we had that story.
Do you think they looked at their code and were like, "Oh, we're doing this too"? Oh, shit.
Well, no. So the thing that's funny is I think this was like way older, right? So we talked about the Slope wallet thing last week, like that Corey just mentioned, where basically the Slope wallet was sending mnemonic seed phrases from your wallet to a logging server in clear text. And so this it was like the same day that we talked about that, this article about this near breach, where they're like, yeah, so back in June, we had a security auditing firm that found pretty much the same thing.
Whoops.
Yeah, so they revealed that SMS and email data used as wallet recovery options were leaked to a third party in June.
So the thing about these recovery phrases is they're good forever, right?
What? Hold on. You could have it text your wallet recovery phrase.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my! Why?
So I think that you're reading into that. I think if I had to guess, it would be, well, maybe that is true. Yeah, it does say.
I'm totally speculating here.
It says wallet recovery options. So I mean, if that is an option, that is absolutely crazy. Someone is firing up a stingray nearby.
Oh, look, a new text.
I guess it's like the old thing of like, if you are somehow reading these, like just set up a basic regex for like mnemonics and just like whatever it is, just look for mnemonics. Like I don't care if you're monitoring text messages or.
I just thought of the craziest thing too. What if you just sent someone a text message that said, "Hey, your Coinbase account has been compromised, please," or something else, and please text me back your recovery keys. Like phishing via text because that would make sense. You have to type it in, right?
For the feds listening to this, for the feds listening to this, that was a joke. He's the only. I
was just gonna say we used to talk about bad ideas all the time.
We have an episode. We literally have an episode called "Bad Ideas."
Dude, I can't turn it off, man. I just think about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's how I could do it. All right.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, that happened.
That happened. It was cool.
Another interesting story this week was Curve Finance had a front end issue where it appeared that it was a DNS hijack of sorts. So, hackers were able to plunder approximately $570,000 from decentralized finance protocol Curve.finance. So Curve is part of the DeFi ecosystem due to its CRV token rewards emissions, which serve as a source of income for several other protocols. The suspected hacker appears to have changed the domain name system DNS entry for the protocol, forwarding users to a fake clone and approving a malicious contract. Ooh, so the old token approval scheme.
So was this a subdomain or was this actual curve.fi redirected everything to curve.exchange?
So I believe it's the main. I believe it's the TLD.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's funny.
Somebody didn't do the auto renewal, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it was a really expensive domain.
They actually compromised the DNS server. Supposedly, that's what they think. It wasn't just.
Yeah, that's what.
Right.
That's what they said, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
top level, they didn't. So like, let's say you have like your reg store, right, where you have your domain. So they had it pointed to like a DNS server that they're just running. and then they compromise that server and then change the record. Does that make sense? Because like normally you could go to, because typically most people don't run their own DNS.
So
DNS
it was
server.
a registrar.
No.
I want my name.
Yeah, which I had never heard of before. I don't know about you guys.
I bet they got phished.
Yeah.
Total speculation.
So I want my name
speculation.
is the DNS provider. They have yet to comment on exactly what led to the hijacking, but Curve believes that the underlying name server was compromised rather than a vulnerability at the account level. So they're basically saying, hey, nobody broke into our account. Something actually happened on the Curve side.
Right, of
Or not the
course.
Curve side,
So it's kind of a...
I want my name.
He said, she said. Oh, no, it was the registrar that got compromised. No, you guys got compromised. No, it was the registrar. Like, you know, it's...
I've never heard of this DNS server, so they like, hired Bob to run this, and then he got compromised. I mean, like, there probably could have been another one they could have used, but I don't know. Just opinions here. Just opinions.
Don't roll your own DNS server. Is that the...
Yes, don't roll your own DNS.
Well,
bad idea, just like crypto. Don't do
and
it.
It should be note, the contract, the old contract is fine. The on-chain stuff is fine. Wasn't compromised, but they were publishing a new contract via that DNS. So it's funny how like the Web 2 to Web 3 things. Yeah.
So this brings up a point. Maybe we should be migrating to ENS.
Yeah, no, definitely. Let's promote it. I got a lot of.
But I want my name as having a sale. I'm just kidding.
Hey, Brave will already load, sites hosted on an ENS name. So I mean, it's coming, right? So I know that some of the stolen funds were recovered, right, Steve? I think.
Yeah. So apparently the attackers just funneled their money straight to Binance, and they just keep freezing it because they keep sending it to the same account or something. So
they're like, "Damn, we couldn't use Tornado Cash."
Yeah, we couldn't use
Tornado Cash shut down. Shoot. Don't worry, Binance won't know.
Yeah, so Binance, it looks like they've recovered $450,000 so far of the 570. That's a lot. That's huge.
Yeah, Binance is pretty aggressive about looking for or like recovering funds when they can like prove that like some hack happened. So.
Yeah, I hope you don't live in China when Binance finds that you're, stealing money and coming for you.
Oh yeah, you're just gonna be gone.
Yeah, we won't hear from you anymore. But
so one question for the guests, like these kinds of hacks. I mean, I'm assuming you mentioned you do your own investigations, or you do, your company does investigations. When someone comes to you with one of these, like, hey, we got hacked. I mean, do you have like a sort of gate that you choose where you decide if it's a traditional security thing that they should investigate, and you maybe refer them to like a, if your email server got compromised, I assume you guys aren't like, or maybe you would, but how do you determine whether it's like a traditional security investigation or if it's like a blockchain security investigation?
Right. I mean, looking at which part of the stack got compromised, really. I mean, you're seeing a lot of these compromises are happening in a more Web 2 way. It's happening not with the actual smart contract. It's everything sitting on top. It's the databases, it's the APIs, it's the front ends, everything. We are trying to cover more of that. We're trying to take a more holistic view. We do threat modeling and stuff like that on frameworks, and we're trying to convince some of our customers, hey, don't focus all your effort on just the smart contract, because a lot of these attacks, it's not the smart contract that's getting hit, it's everything around it. And people, I don't know why, seem to discount it. Like Web 3, all you have to worry about is smart contract, but Web 2 security, all of that stuff is as much or more relevant here. But yeah, how do we determine it? We have to look at the attack, and it's kind of on a case-by-case process to figure out, where exactly we're focusing on.
You'll be surprised. It's not just corporations. Like there are individuals, some of them whales,
right?
Get compromised, and you get desperate calls. Like these are people that have invested their lives
into Bored Apes.
Yeah, and they pretexted, dude. You'll be surprised the stuff they come up with.
I bet.
Interesting. So is that challenging working with a private individual versus a company? I mean, you don't have, or is there still an MSA? Is there still NDA? Like, do you just approach it as if it were a company kind of, or how do you even navigate that? Or do you just kind of, a whale can probably pay the bills, but it's hard if it's just, I'm sure you get thousands and thousands of people. Hey, I got scammed, or I got, rug pulled or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, you had to profile the customer, right? But obviously, if you want the services of any firm, not just AnChain, you're gonna have to pay a lot of money. Like well, obviously you probably have it already at stake. So
Yeah.
for you, it's basically a cost.
Well, not anymore.
Lose all this. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
Cool. All right. So next story. This is actually so Corey, you're gonna like this one. This is the one I briefly brought up last week around a developer of a Solana stablecoin called Saber, or it's a stablecoin exchange, who had multiple identities that was basically cranking the TLV under different personas. So founders of Solana's leading cross-chain stablecoin exchange, Saber Protocol, Ian and Dylan McElenow, I think is how you pronounce it, have been revealed to have a web of bogus identities to pump and fake TVL on the Solana blockchain, trying to launch a Sybil attack. And so this was, we slightly talked about this last week, but the whole idea here is basically one person decided to open multiple accounts to try to appear as if they were building this platform.
Well, wait, hold on. This is okay. So first of all, Solana, I'm sorry, you just can't get a win here. You're just getting wrecked,
dude. They're like the scam chain.
They're like the whipping boy chain. But yeah, so I will say this might not pass a sniff test because here's the developers the person came up with. They came up with one named Larry Jerry.
I mean, this guy was not very creative.
They also came up with one called Swaglione.
Honestly, this seems like half of the DeFi projects. Whenever they come up and they put pictures of like the people who are working on it, like
they're just NFTs.
They're all NFTs. Yeah. They're NFTs, and they're like, yeah, Jesse's working on this. He's really good. And I'm like, who is
Jesse
this dude?
Smessy, Larry Jerry.
Jesse Smessy. And you go look that person up, and there's like nothing on the internet.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, it's tough because a lot of these chains are, or a lot of these products are pseudonymous. They don't have a specific person tied to it. Yeah. So it's like, how do you tell, like, oh, this one's Larry Jerry, aka one person? Oops, forgot to change accounts and submitted some code to GitHub. Whoopsies.
The perfect scam is one where you don't have to identify yourself. Right? So like. They start up like, hey, we want to be anonymous. This is about anonymous stuff, right? All right, send us your money.
It's funny though because he totally got doxxed. Like they have like his full name in here. They're like
OPSEC. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, so what's interesting is he I guess gave himself grants too under different accounts. So he applied for a grant under one developer account and then granted himself a grant under a different account.
Yeah, DAO approval. All right. We're good.
Oh man, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, me and all my colleagues at the DAO agreed that it's going to be pushed into production. It was just me shaking my own hand. It's like that Jerry from Rick and Morty.
And we have a multi-sig wallet, okay? Everyone's got a key.
All 11 developers.
Yeah.
With our powers combined. Yeah, exactly.
They're never in the same room together.
Maybe that's what happened to the Ronin Bridge.
Oh God.
Jesus.
All right, so we can't have a CoinSec episode without a rug pull. So this week's rug pull is Dragoma. Apparently, is a newly launched Web3 game on Polygon. According to Peck Shield, has been rug pulled. So Dragoma, it is I guess at its peak, the DMA token reached $1.78, and as of Monday, $3.5 million are gone. And they have ended up in centralized exchanges. The social media accounts and the website for this Dragoma game are gone. Ghosted.
Yeah. So what was the premise for this game, and was it actually working before they pulled it, or was it like hey, we're building a game, please invest?
I'll just say that none of the NFT projects actually have a real game at this point. So I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that it wasn't.
Yeah, Web3 gaming. Does anyone know any gaming platform that supports Web3?
They're all really good.
No, to be fair, there's a ton building, right? And there's a ton really close.
You want to get in early though. You got to get in early. Ground floor. It's not built yet, but there's a lot of promise here. Just wait till next week.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Everyone's looking for the next Bitcoin, but that can't never exist because there can't be another first. You can't. It's social engineering. You can't have the new Like it doesn't work like that. The cat's out of the bag. We have Twitter now. We have like you can't have like a secret. Oh well, this one no one's ever heard of this. Like yes, people have, and yeah,
Wasn't. Yeah.
All right, we got one more story and about out of time. So
Yep.
Yep,
It's a big
the
one.
last one's a big one. Yep. So this week, the Ethereum proof of stake merge is live on Goerli, the test network, which is the third and final test merge before they go to mainnet, which is very exciting, right? This is something, we've seen push back for a year now, at least.
ETH 2.0. ETH 2.0.
Are you telling me that my 300 million GPU farm is going to be useless after this?
That is.
Go mine some Raven coin.
Oh, God. So the real benefit of this is the gas fees, right? And the the chain speed is going way up. Hopefully, those are like the two big things, right?
So I think it's kind of a slow transition. So not all of that is going to happen right when this merge, but yes. This is part of that, right? The two biggest things being the gas prices going down and transaction speeds going up, right?
So wait, does Joe Biden set the gas fees on blockchain?
Yeah,
No?
yeah. He just tells people to lower the prices. Okay.
Yeah, dude, Joe Biden. Okay, I want to see a Joe Biden tweet. ETH 2.0 when?
These gas prices are too high.
Yeah. So an interesting thing about this,
Joe, I did that.
Yes, I did that.
I did that.
I did that, but it's ETH. Though.
Yeah. Just go forward now.
If you are a stakeholder in ETH 2.0, unfortunately, for up to 6 months to a year after the merge, you don't get your funds back.
Mm-hmm. You are locked in.
So you're locked in until they decide. Bo was saying that's not part of the original merge. They didn't want to bring the two functions together. I guess it might have caused problems. So they're going to roll that in later so you can grab your money later. But I think that might help in the long run because I think a lot of people would have dumped right away, pulled their money out, and that might have affected the market. So this might actually help. But just keep in mind, if you are staking, there is that time delimiter from merge to being able to pull your coins.
Yeah, I feel like it's a stability thing, right? It's encouraging people to invest long term and not just stake 96 ether. You need like a decent chunk.
There's 32.
32. Okay.
32. Yeah, but
you need a decent chunk, and they're trying to encourage people probably to invest it long term and not just be like, oh, nice hash 2.0. It's this time I just put in 0.000001 ETH and now I'm making 10x the money.
I mean, isn't that what it's all about? Just making a bunch of money.
Yeah, but with ETH 2.0, people can dump out of the chain like 10 times faster.
Yeah. No, it is funny though, because like a lot of the stuff that we talk about is because people are trying to get rich quick. That's what rugs are, right? They're just building up that emotion. But we're talking about it from the security side. We're like, well, this is actually technology. You guys do know that, right? It's not just money, right? Like. I don't know.
So hopefully this alleviates. I wonder if it'll impact other chains' prices. Like, a lot of other chains like Binance Smart Chain have kind of come along to alleviate some of these fees. So it'll be interesting if this negatively impacts those. Will it be like, oh, we're going back to traditional ERC20, we're going back, to the OG, or are we going to stay on these alternate chains?
Are you going to see like AVAX and Poly and Solana users moving back to Ethereum?
Well, so here's the thing, though. The code is the same for the most part. So a lot of those projects already support multi-chain. There'll be like 4 or 5 chains, especially DeFi projects and stuff. So like they're just going to be like, oh, well, I guess Ethereum's kind of good now. You can press that button this time, right?
Right. So no major changes from the developer standpoint. Do you guys see any of that from AnChain? Like any major changes you have to do from investigation side or anything like that for this?
I haven't noticed any.
It's going to make our CTF more fun to play.
Yeah.
Cheaper gas fees and faster transactions.
Which I didn't know because I don't play with a whole lot of testnet, but I guess those are expensive too. Like, what's the thing?
They're just hard to get. They're not expensive.
Well, then if they're hard to get, wouldn't you pay for them?
I might.
They're free cost. Give you just like a little bit at a time, and if you want more, you have to like verify yourself.
But have you ever bought?
There are people who sell them if you need a lot of pesties because they give you like one. I told you, it's cheap.
It's mad cheap.
Oh, okay, it's mad cheap. All right.
Because all you have to do is sit there every day, like get your 1 ETH from a faucet, and just stash it, and then when someone comes along, just $20, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, all right.
Ralph was over here about to put all of his money into ETH testnet.
It's gonna go up. I'm going all in on ETH test, man.
ETH testnet is where it's at. You guys think you're all you main chain people so fancy.
Dude, I've got a bot. It just gets it more every day.
That actually brings up a funny, or I guess like not necessarily funny, but an interesting point is that there actually is a I guess like a rather large group of people who are going to try to make ETH POW a thing, right? So they're talking about just forking,
Classic?
right?
What about ETH Classic?
Nobody uses ETH Classic.
Well, I'm just saying that's still proof of work. It's not going anywhere, right? I mean, there was that one problem, but they fixed it though. It's been fixed. The cool chain and the old chain.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much I guess hashing power stays on the proof of work side.
Yeah, I don't know why everyone loves GPUs and using lots of power. It's like a thing.
Yeah, they do.
It's satisfying, dude. It's like watching a 3D printer go. You're like, oh, a machine is making me money. This is like it's like the human dream, right? It's like
I can feel the money from here.
It's a space heater too.
Yes, and it doubles as a space heater. Extremely efficient.
Yeah, you live in a really cold climate, so that checks out. You need that.
Don't talk about where we live. It's
so thanks everyone for coming on as a guest. I mean, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was really fun.
And thanks for setting up a CTF. That's a lot of work. I mean, we definitely know how much work that is. That's awesome that you guys put in all that effort, and I hope that it goes well.
Yeah, I'm gonna compete in it for sure, just so that I can say I did better than Bo.
Bring it on.
See, I knew he'd get involved now.
Yeah. All right. So everyone, make sure you check out iHack NFT. Check out AnChain.AI, AnChain.AI. Go follow these guys on all the social networks. Smash the subscribe button or whatever. All that
double
stuff.
smash, double like. Everything.
Hit us up in Discord. You guys should all join the Discord.
Yep.
Send
Definitely.
us messages.
And all you guys out at DEF CON, have fun. Bring me back some cool swag, Ralph.
Yeah, no, whatever you want, man. I've been grabbing shirts for you and everyone and giving them to homeless people.
You guys got any AnChain stickers?
AnChain stickers, yeah.
Yeah, give us some swag.
We're needy.
Hook us up.
Actually,
you want those stickers? All right, I gotta go.
Do you guys have NFT?
I got a shirt. Yeah.
Do you guys have NFT stickers that you can?
I put one on my laptop. No one likes it though because they can't see it.
It's just a QR code, right?
Yeah.
It only works once.
It only works once. Yeah. I was thinking about just putting a QR code that has the Wi-Fi. There's an auto join Wi-Fi for QR codes, and just seeing if people join, my Wi-Fi.
Sounds fun. All right, guys. Well, it's been awesome having you guys on. We will definitely, anytime you guys want to come back on the show, just let me know, and we'll have you on. And we'll catch you next time.
Perfect.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Cool.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.